Good afternoon, Board of Directors. First and foremost, we as a team would like to thank each and every one of you individually for being here today. We understand that this is very valuable time that we are taking, and we just hope that you guys will see how valuable this information is that we are giving you, and how this information can be used to help better the company by realizing our current strengths, things that have made us successful in the past and what are currently making us successful. Also, the weaknesses we'll be discussing. We hope that you guys can see these things as an area that we can make improvements on, and by doing so we will make those changes. Third, the opportunities will be discussed, both current and future opportunities. This is very important to ensure that we are successful and we take advantage of every opportunity that's given to us. And lastly, we'll be discussing the threats of the company, and by acknowledging these threats, we hope that we can avoid making future mistakes, and that will contribute also to the company's success. Personally, I will be talking first on the strengths of the company, and then after me, Cooper will then follow by talking about the weaknesses. After Cooper, Seth will then be giving the overview on the opportunities of the company, and lastly, Jacob will be speaking on the threats. So to start things off for the strengths of the company, there's a couple of facts that I wanted to touch on. Here at Boeing Airlines, we are actually the 52nd biggest company in the world. That's something that we can be proud of, and after the 104 years of experience that we've had in this industry, it's pretty cool to see how big and how successful we actually are. Another cool statistic is that we're actually the second largest aerospace company out there in the market, and our competitor, the number one competitor, we're close behind, so it's a good race. And the reason why we are so successful and we're such a big company contributes down obviously to the strengths of our company. And there are a few key components that I would like to touch on today, just so that we can acknowledge them, and in the future we can continue putting a big focus on each one of these aspects. So first off, here at Boeing Airlines, we have a huge variety available, from commercial airlines to corporate jets, also to small private jets. We provide just about everything. This is crucial for our company's success, because when we have clients that come to us and propose an idea, we can take on their order with 100% confidence that we'll be able to complete it. We can tailor our products to each and every single one of them to guarantee customer satisfaction. And we don't have to refer them to another company that might be one of our rivals. We can take on the order and complete it ourselves. Next, I want to focus on the strong relationships that we've built over time with our current clients. One of our biggest customers is actually the U.S. government, and I think that's something that we as a company need to continue to focus on and make sure that this relationship continues to grow and continues to be as strong as it should be. The U.S. government uses us for a lot of reasons, but mainly it's the military. Actually, our company's revenue is almost a little bit over half is due to the defense, space, and security side of things. The things that we provide for the U.S. government in these categories actually brings in quite a bit of revenue for our company. So, like I said, we need to continue to nourish this relationship with the U.S. government, and to do all we can to ensure that they continue choosing us and continue to do business with us in the future. Next are strategic partnerships. So this is something that makes our company successful and is also another one of our strengths. So the partnerships that we've developed over the time, not with our clients, but with other small companies that provide us parts, that help us put together our planes, that help us develop new ideas. These partnerships have been strategically put together over time, and each one of these partnerships contributes to why we are such a successful company. So not only do we need to continue to nourish these partnerships, we also need to in the future look forward to making other partnerships that are going to do the same for us. Next, I will be talking about the robust supply chain. And this is a reason why we are so successful and why we can, in such a short amount of time, we can complete our production. It's not that we do it all here in one factory and call it good. We actually import products from various locations from different supply chains. And by doing so, we actually ensure that our deliveries are on time. That when our clients or potential customers need a product, that we can give them a deadline and we can be confident by it. We are sure that we're going to complete the order on time, and it's due to this robust supply chain. So each one of these things is a reason why our company is as strong as it is. These are our core strengths that we stick behind and that we as a company should continue to focus on. These strengths, they didn't just happen by chance. It's come after years and years of hard work, and we shouldn't just put them to the side just because we're doing so well in these certain aspects, but we need to continue to focus on them. And by doing so, we're going to ensure that these strengths not only stay strong, but continue to grow and continue to become better for us. You'll see next the weaknesses of our company. Cooper is going to touch on those. And I just hope that we can see how some of those weaknesses can eventually become our strengths as well. Thank you, guys.
Perfect. I'm very grateful for Keenan, who was willing to do that awesome introduction and talk about the strengths of Boeing. It's very awesome to hear those, and I'm grateful for him handing it off to me. My name is Cooper, and I'm very grateful to be speaking here to the board of directors at Boeing. And my purpose today is to talk more so about the weaknesses of the company. Now, no business owner, no board of directors wants to hear about the weaknesses and how their company is not faring very well. But it is important to recognize that strengths and weaknesses are just as important to recognize as the other one is. Without recognizing weaknesses, then you would never be able to get better than where you are currently, which is why we're coming to you today to speak with you about these weaknesses and also give some recommendations on what can be improved throughout the company. And I'd like to address 3 specific weaknesses that we see in Boeing that could be resolved. Firstly, starting off with the public view, the public eye seeing our company, especially dealing with the 2 plane crashes that happened in 2019 in relation to the Boeing 737 MAX. The second problem I'd like to address is the deficiency that results from outsourcing the manufacturing of components and parts of planes that we like to build and sell. And then the third problem I'd like to address is the overdependence the company has on the government sector as far as selling planes to the government sector and not as many to the market. So just to start, just as many of you know and has been in the news worldwide, due to Boeing faulty design flaws in the Boeing 737 MAX, it led to 2 fatal plane crashes just in 2019, one happening in the Java Sea and the second one happening in Ethiopia. Unfortunately, both of these planes carried well over 150 people and led to the death of every single passenger, flight attendant, and pilot on board. The whole world was able to witness this, unfortunately, and they saw that it was a Boeing plane. It was, of course, with different airlines, but it was a flaw that came directly from the plane that was designed and produced by our company. So, as a result of that, of course, our revenue decreased as the government required us to no longer be able to fly the Boeing 737 MAX, which is our most highly profitable and most sold plane. And just until a week ago, they've not been able to fly that plane. So it was just granted access for air travel in just the last week. But unfortunately, that still leaves bad marks for Boeing because people will always look back and remember those 2 crashes that happened in 2019. Now, the second weakness I'd like to address is, as I mentioned before, is the deficiency that results from outsourcing our manufacturing of components. Now, currently, most of components and parts are being produced outside of the United States, mostly in the Middle East and Asia. We've seen it very clear this year that in 2020, due to COVID-19, many of those supply chains have been either cut off or reduced which directly affects our production of airplanes and being able to sell them, of course, reducing revenue and reducing stock price. So, of course, we want to decrease our dependence on companies that are overseas that are going to not be able to supply everything that we really need as a company. And then the third weakness I'd like to recognize is the company's overdependence on the government or the federal sector. As it stands currently, about 27% of sales and revenue comes directly from the federal government. For example, this is because of the Air Force using our planes and other aircrafts that are available. So about 27% of our revenue is directly affected by government decisions of spending and budgeting. If for some reason the government were to decide to decrease the amount of funding for aircrafts, then that would directly hurt Boeing in that 27% range, which is more than a quarter of what this company is bringing in. So of course that has to be a solution, or there has to be a solution to that problem. And for that reason, I would like to take the rest of my time to propose some solutions to these problems, which can better increase the view of the company from the public eye, as well as increase stock price and revenue. So to begin dealing with the crashes, it's a bit hard to fix this because, of course, this happened last year. We can't go back in time to fix this, but what we can do is move forward without looking back and making sure that the public eye does not continue to look back on what's happened. We will do everything in our power to fix what has happened, to give back to these families who lost their loved ones, but also move forward, making sure we don't cut any corners and making sure that Boeing does not have these same problems in the future, leading to the death of so many. Even though it was just 2 plane crashes, it affected the whole world viewing our company as someone that is not completely reliable, which has decreased sales so much. So the solution to that would be to move forward, not recognizing things that have happened in the past, and only focusing on improving our designs as much as possible. With outsourcing, the second weakness that we recognized, it's important that we focus more so on supplying our own components and parts of airplanes to create. We don't want to be relying on Indian or Chinese or Japanese products as much as we can rely on ourselves, because with ourselves, if we were to invest in creating our own plants, our own manufacturing areas where we can make our own materials, that will be much easier and be much more patriotic and profitable. And then finally, overdependence on the government sector would probably be the most difficult weakness to solve or to strengthen. But really, we'd have to market and start to pitch the products of Boeing to capitalistic companies that are willing to invest in worthy products. That way, if the government were to start cutting funds and budgeting as far as aircrafts go, then we would be able to rely more so on the market, which will have to always continue to buy and are much more reliable. With the closing of my section talking about weaknesses, I'd love to hand off more time to the next associate, Seth, who will talk about the opportunities that are still available for Boeing in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you, Keenan and Cooper, for that introduction, and thank you, Board of Directors, for your time today. Like they said, my name is Seth Moulton, and today I'll be talking a little bit about the opportunities that Boeing has. Now, with over $3 billion invested annually, Boeing has many opportunities for growth and for expansion. And today I would like to discuss and focus on 5 different opportunities that Boeing has that can make a big impact on the world. The first opportunity is by reducing our carbon footprint. Second, jumping into the healthcare transportation field. Third, launching more satellites and other technologies into space. Fourth, upgrading our planes. And fifth, improving our manufacturing process. Now, Boeing has the great opportunity to reduce our carbon footprint by making our planes cleaner for passengers and the environment. Boeing's mission statement is to foster a culture that ensures the safety, quality, and compliance of our products and services for those who depend on, operate, and maintain our products. Now, with the current worldwide COVID-19 pandemic, there's a great opportunity for Boeing to be the leading safe airplane manufacturer. By coinciding with COVID-19 safety precautions and providing socially distant travel, we can ensure to our customers that they get to their destinations in both the smartest and healthiest way possible. Next, the opportunity to jump into the healthcare transportation field. Transporting time-sensitive organs, medicines, or other supplies is in great need right now. If Boeing were to jump into the healthcare transportation field, millions of lives could be impacted for good. Patients could receive their much-needed organs quicker, doctors could receive the supplies that they need when they need them, and distribution of much-needed vaccines and other medicines could reach hospitals in a fraction of the time. With the COVID-19 vaccine almost ready for the public, Boeing has a massive opportunity for distributing this much-needed vaccine. One way that Boeing could do this is by manufacturing and operating charter planes for hospitals throughout the country. Next is the opportunity to satisfy the current need of putting satellites and other technologies into space. Space companies around the world are wanting to launch tens of thousands of new satellites and technologies into space for exploration and regulation. Boeing can be the go-to company for launching these satellites and other technologies into space. Satellites, rockets, and other technologies that we put into space help us to be able to learn a little more about the world that we live in, and especially the universe around us. Now, currently, the United Launch Alliance, which is our venture between Boeing and Lockheed Martin, has provided launch services and put more than 100 satellites into space. Now we have an opportunity to increase that number and to put tens of thousands of satellites and other technologies into space. Next, we have the opportunity to further our destinations with little to no stops. The Boeing 77X-8 is the third longest range airplane in the world. This plane can travel 16,170 kilometers, all while carrying over 360 passengers. Boeing has the opportunity to make this distance the new standard for their planes. By having all planes be able to travel this distance with no stops would help us to maintain and grow our customer clientele over our competitors. The Boeing 777-200LR used to be the longest range airplane in the world until it was beat by the Airbus A350-900ULR and then their own Boeing 777-8. It would be a great accomplishment if we could take back that title of the longest range airplane in the world. And lastly, the opportunity to improve our manufacturing process. Currently, Boeing uses a continuous process to manufacture their planes. Currently, there are two main facilities that do this. With those two main facilities, they're able to build on average 57 planes per month. If Boeing were to build a third facility, this could increase their production by 50%. Boeing could also implement a more innovative manufacturing technique, such as friction welding, to improve production costs and time. Another thing that Boeing can do is to look into using more plastics and composites in their planes to make them lighter and more efficient. Now, today we heard about 5 different opportunities that Boeing has: reducing our carbon footprint, jumping into the healthcare transportation field, launching more satellites and technologies into space, upgrading our planes, and improving our manufacturing process. Now that you have heard these 5 opportunities that Boeing has to increase growth and expansion, hopefully you are able to identify 1 or 2 opportunities that you would like to seize. Now, I would like to personally recommend 2 opportunities that Boeing has that could increase their bottom line. The first would be by making our planes safer and healthier for our customers in the environment. And second, by opening a third facility that could increase our production. Next, Jacob is going to talk about some of the threats that Boeing is facing. Thank you for your time.
Alrighty, thank you, Seth, for going over the opportunities of Boeing that we've been able to research through our SWOT analysis. My name is Jake Kovach. I went over the threats through our SWOT analysis that I've been able to notice, and I'm going to focus on a few different things that have been already talked about, as well as one or two things that I've noticed through different readings and opportunities that I've been able to do through my research of Boeing. One of the biggest things that I've noticed that is a threat to Boeing, and Cooper kind of talked about it in the weaknesses, is that 737 MAX. Boeing has Airbus, they have Bell, they have other aerospace companies that are out there that are building these great, massive, huge planes that are working perfectly fine, flying all the way across the world. When recently we just had that problem on Southwest with a 737. They're having a problem. And the big reason for that is coming from those contracts that they have. 72% of the contracts of their business comes from military. It comes from from airline companies. It comes from, small little companies that are out there just looking for, quick travel. Just get from A to B, just being able to do that. They're having to keep up with all that, plus building a company in upon themselves and new things. They have to hold on to those contracts, because if they don't hold on to those contracts, they're going to jump over to Airbus. Airbus is doing great. They're having a magnificent job being able to create planes that are able to fly almost all the way around the world and not have to stop. You've got the Airbus A380. Boeing needs to come up with things that are like that to be able to compete with that. Boeing had the 747 that was able to, go halfway across the world without stopping. They just discontinued the 747. What is next for Boeing? These are things that we need to focus on, different opportunities, they have those threats that are against them. One of the other things is along with those 72% of those contracts, they need to focus on the little business that's out there. Airbus is doing a great job because they are very diverse. They're able to, work with not just military, not just airline, but they also have those small businesses. That's something that Boeing should get into. 50% of Boeing's contracts go straight to military. They're the ones that build these super fast jets that are going across the sky, such as the F-35s, the F-22 Raptors, everything like that. That all comes from Boeing or is designed by Boeing and, shipped off to the military to complete the manufacturing for it. Everything like that. They need to start focusing on things like that. Those are the opportunities and the threats that I see that are with Boeing. They have a lot of them. There's things that they need to focus on. With the 737, financials crashed. There was a big problem when it came to the financials for that. It's things that they just need to work on. Now, recommendations that I have for that, like I said, start working with the small businesses. Get rid of the 737. Work on something that's a little bit bigger, better, get places faster. I'd love to have my flight between here and Dallas to be less than 2 hours. That would be awesome. But, we still have to go through the next stage. But through everything that we've talked about, what Keenan talked about and the strengths where, they are the 52nd largest business in the world. Being 52 in the world is huge. There are millions of businesses out there, and being 52 is huge. They have those military contracts, which is great. The military's not going anywhere. They're able to go ahead and just build and manufacture and make it better. Go on to the weaknesses that Cooper talked about, and kind of I talked about as well. You have the 737 Maxes. You have the outsourcing, components and everything like that. The overdependence on the governor and, all that crazy stuff that's going on there. The opportunities that they have, reducing the carbon footprint. That is one thing that Boeing is working hard on, to be able to reduce that carbon footprint. Because you look in the sky, you see the airplanes, they leave that, white thing that's in the sky. That's something that Boeing is trying to work on getting rid of. We've done a lot of research on this to make sure that, all the information that we have is correct. Upgrading planes, being able to get things to be better, things that I've talked about, being able to get the planes to be as good as they possibly can, faster, more comfortable, all of this stuff has to come together for them to have that kind of output. Launching more satellites and technology into space. These are huge opportunities that they have to be able to make their product as big and as bad as possible, to make it better than Airbus, to make it better than Bell, to make it better than every other aerospace company that is out there. Now, the biggest thing is the threats, and I'll recap on that quick. They have the threats that are out there. You have Airbus, like I just said. You have Bell, like I just said. You have all these small companies that are out there that are causing them problems because Airbus is not having the same problems that they are. You know, when's the last time you heard of an Airbus plane crashing because of a computer malfunction? When's the last time you heard something about an engine blowout? You know, these are all things that you don't hear about when it comes to Airbus. But with Boeing, constantly you're seeing the 737 Maxes, Southwest crash. You see the Delta planes crash. You're seeing all these different things go on, and they're all Boeing 737 Max, Boeing 737 Max. What is the deal when it comes to that? Boeing needs to find different opportunities. They need to figure out and take the threats that they have and move forward. These are things that are out there that they need to completely move forward from. You know, take it, you know, financials, great, that's fine. Just put that stamp on it and say, we did what we could, let's move forward from that. Let's not let anybody else out there that's gonna, you know, take our weakness and just completely blow it out of the water, like Airbus. You know, they took what the 737 was and made it so much better, and more companies are switching over to Airbus to create those contracts. You know, these are all things that we've noticed throughout our SWOT analysis, and we were grateful that we were able to do this because this is something that we all didn't realize that was going on, but we're grateful that we were able to do it, and I do just want to say thank you.